Well, it's one of the busiest times of the year to travel, and you might want to pack a little extra patience if you're planning on flying over the holiday season. In fact, new data shows that air passengers are the most likely to become unruly while traveling during the holidays. So CBC News analyzed more than 340,000 aviation events since 2000, and they found that reports of disruptive passengers are the highest this time of the year. Let's bring in Megan Fitzpatrick right now. She is at the airport at Toronto Pearson International Airport. We saw a bunch of passengers there behind you. So, Megan, talk to us a little bit more about the analysis here and what the report found.
Yeah, well, as you mentioned, Angie, CBC poured over years of data, specifically looking at reports that are filed by commercial airlines to Transport Canada, looking at unruly passengers and finding that the month of December has the highest proportion of those reports filed on a yearly basis. And a disruptive passenger report is filed whenever someone, quote, disrupts or threatens the normal operations of an aircraft, according to Transport Canada rules. And Transport Canada also saying, Angie, that any behavior that may endanger the safety or security of a flight or a person on board by interfering with crew members or persons who are following the instructions of a crew member is recognized as an offense. There are several laws that essentially govern behavior of passengers on an aircraft. And looking at these reports that have been filed over the years, they cover a range of behaviors, everything from people not following the instructions to put their seats back in an upright position during landing, to breaking the rules around no smoking on the aircraft or in the washrooms, to other behavioral issues like yelling, physical aggression, even sexual harassment and other abusive behavior towards fellow passengers and towards the crew on the flight. One of the key findings here, looking at the whole month of December, the CBC analysis finding that Christmas Day is actually the worst day out of the entire month for the number of reports filed. CBC spoke to a union representative who represents crew who work for some Canadian airlines. She attributed this higher proportion of unruly passengers to a number of factors, including frustration at this time of year, perhaps more canceled flights because of the weather, tighter connections, stress and fatigue in general. The consumption of alcohol also playing into this. The CBC analysis finding about 1 in 5 cases that they looked at did involve alcohol. And just generally a sense of entitlement, according to this union rep. Now, CBC did reach out to multiple airlines. WestJet saying that they have noticed an increase in these kinds of reports compared to pre-pandemic. And they also say they have zero tolerance for the abuse of their employees or fellow passengers. And in addition to giving written and verbal warnings to passengers who are being unruly, WestJet also has the authority to suspend people from flying on their airline, potentially for life. So people might want to be aware of that and thinking about that as they conduct themselves on the flights. And Air Canada is saying in terms of these reports, the number are stable that they have reported in recent years, and they say they're relatively rare in comparison to the number of passengers they carry every year. They say the vast majority of our customers are polite and respectful of one another, and our employees, nonetheless, when these incidents occur, we take them very seriously, Angie.
Yeah, indeed. Of course, needing to take it very seriously, very important there. But good to hear that the majority of the passengers, of course, are just there to try and get on their trip and have a good time. You've been speaking to some travelers where you are, Megan. What have they been saying to you?
Yeah, busy couple days, of course, to start off the week, too, as people get set to fly to different destinations for the holidays. Some I've been meeting are flying south to sunny and warm destinations, others flying north. I met one family heading up to Yellowknife, and people saying they're not really surprised by these findings, that they do notice that people are more stressed and anxious as they fly during the holidays. Here's some of what we're hearing.
I don't travel a lot, but to me, it makes sense because the stress of the holidays, everybody's traveling, there's a lot more people, and I just think the anxiety of everybody nowadays, I think it makes a lot more sense that there be more complaints.
People are stressed out in, busy time of the year, and they want everything to be perfect, and sometimes things don't come out perfectly.
Everyone got the ticket very expensive because it's like a traffic, it's a peak time, and you want to be on time.
Yeah, hopefully on time and good weather for travelers today. It is a nice day here in Toronto, so I don't think the weather will be playing a factor here. Everything's smooth operating this morning, Angie, from what we can see here at Pearson. Nothing too chaotic. Some passengers even being greeted if they're checking in for an Air Canada flight, their staff handing out cookies and treats. So that's a nice way for them to start their travel day. But yeah, most people I'm talking to just, advising their fellow passengers to take a deep breath, try and remain calm, and be polite to the flight attendants, the crews, and fellow passengers today.
Indeed, and perhaps those cookies and treats will sort of sweeten the deal a little bit. Megan, thank you so much for this. CBC's Megan Fitzpatrick for us over at Toronto Pearson International Airport.